Welcome to Bonehead. How are you all today? I want to tell this week to have a big bowl of suck it. And for you listeners out there, that wasn't Joe Lewis.
No, that's Chad.
Oh my God, Chad.
By the way, I know we're coming up on the holidays, and I found this in my closet.
Well, his belching reminds you of the holidays?
Well, no, I found this in my closet. Now, for those of you that can't see it, I'm not going to explain it to you. You need to go watch our YouTube and subscribe. But this shirt, I know you're going to be shocked.
That's amazing.
Somehow was only $4.
Where did you get that at?
Walmart. They're just giving them away.
Oh.
$4.
Really? I wish.
By the way, and not to give details about my physical fitness, but this is indeed actually a 3XL, and they still only $4. They didn't upcharge me the way some people do. They said no. This shirt is awesome, and you're going to pay the same price everybody else because they're true American.
Was it right next to the eggnog Twinkies?
Not seen those either. You guys shop more than me.
Now, by the way,
I just made it up. They might actually have eggnog Twinkies. I was just making a.
I don't know.
I bought this last year.
You're telling the truth.
I bought this last year, so if anybody is looking for this, I'll say this one for $37.
And James doesn't want us to tell you what it is, but I do agree that just stop by. You don't have to watch us or look at us. It's in the first 2 minutes. Look at his shirt, and then go about your daily business. It's absolutely fine. We don't. Oh my God, there's 2 of them. There's 2. There's the one in the back near the horse.
Yeah, he's just chilling, man. He's hanging on.
Chilling.
I don't think those stars are properly aligned.
Ow.
Somebody call Cameron and bitch.
No, whatever, Neil deGrasse. See, he took the time, Chad, to get the plates right, but he didn't take the time to get the sky right.
There's a lot of other historical inaccuracies about that movie, but we'll digress.
By the way, actually, that's the entire plot. That was originally going to be the entire plot of the film and novel, The Fault in Our Stars. But then Hollywood got a hold of it and changed it.
I could see that. They Hollywooded that up.
That's true. I'm assuming.
I've actually never seen the movie. It could literally be about that, and I wouldn't know.
I'm assuming I'm lying, but if
one of them's dying, but I don't know.
I don't know, but I mean, it seems like it could have been something.
Somebody died. Yeah, I mean, it could have been something. That's true. I talked to you all about the season finale of Supernatural, but neither one of you watched it.
No, I was watching. I did watch.
I mean, the series
I'm 3
finale.
seasons
I said
behind.
the series finale. Yeah.
I watched the first 2 episodes of the new Animaniacs earlier today.
It's good.
Not to give anything away because I don't want to ruin the experience for anybody that hasn't seen it yet. I know this won't air till later, but
honest to God, I'm trying to look for the one episode. This could come out Sunday.
That's fine.
I know where it's at.
My biggest critique of it is they really have streamed it down to the Warner Brothers, and Pinky and the Brain, and even if you think about it, that changes the theme song. And it's little stuff like that I'm like, well, but occasionally.
Oh, the Good Feathers aren't in it?
No. And by the way, I actually posted on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter. And you'll actually see the post. I'm glad Animaniacs is back, but I miss Slappy. Like I was actually sitting there going, I just want Slappy.
Yeah.
I want.
Now the hippos, they could do without the hippos.
I mean,
nobody cares about ever seeing them again. But Slappy and the Good Feathers.
Probably. Yeah. I mean, there's some they only did a couple times, like Katie Kaboom. Yeah, cut Katie Kaboom. That's fine. Minerva.
Katie Kaboom.
Minerva Mink was another one. I mean, I get.
Yeah, Minerva Mink could go.
I get if you need to cut some of them, but I mean, come on, Slappy.
Yeah.
But you'll love it though, Chad. Chad, have you watched it yet?
No, I don't have Hulu.
Okay, well, eventually you'll be able to see it, I hope, because the second episode is an entire thing. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. There is some commentary about our outgoing president, but
he ain't outgoing yet.
I'm hoping when this airs in the future. Now, anyway, but
4 years from now they'll go, those boys didn't even know about that missile.
The other part about
they didn't have a goddamn clue.
The other thing about it though that I did appreciate was they do an entire thing about, because as always, and Animaniacs could be really educational. Well, they do an entire song about the I'm blanking on suffragists, women suffragists who fought for the right to vote. And it leads into cartoons wanting the right to vote. And Chad, you'll enjoy it.
Hold on.
James,
And look what that got us.
Hey, what does it get you, James? What does it get you?
A better democracy.
No, James. What's the next line? What's the next line?
The WNBA.
There we go. Sorry.
I say that with nothing.
By the way,
I will say we're making a reference there that nobody's going to get. But what I will say is that everybody in the WNBA could totally beat me at basketball because I'm a realist and no, I have no skill. Those people have way more skill than I do. Well, now that we've alienated
everyone,
ever.
I mean, it's
and male viewers and probably people that used to leave us on as background noise for their dogs have turned us off at this point.
Basically, I actually got criticized in my own home for a joke we were making the other day that she said just ran up and down her skin, and I was like, oh, well, you could just turn it off. Did not laugh at that either. But I told her the same answer I tell anybody else. It is what it is. You could just change the channel.
Enough people have.
And by the way, I do think we need to say sometimes we like wannabe shock jocks just say stuff to get a response.
You know, that actually was we started having a conversation about it, and I said, really good. You fill 2 hours every week.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let me see what craziness you say.
Anyway, no, Chad, you'll like the Animaniacs because in the suffragette episode where they then do the reference to that, it ends with them pulling out a bunch of animated character and I think Speed Buggy is in the background. It's just there's tons of them, and I was like, oh my god, this would be the episode for Chad because as a matter of fact, actually, my favorite part of it, and I will say this: remember those Looney Tunes of the future they tried to do that only lasted one season? Lunatics. They literally cut to the whatever this is supposed to be, and then it cuts away. And I was like, 4 people remember that and will laugh, and I was one of them. So anyway,
and I was a second, so I don't know. The other 2 are losers.
Yeah, what a bunch of posers. Anyway, do we have a topic?
Yeah, we got a topic.
Sorta.
We do. We do. I'm not. Well, the thing is because I don't play a lot of what we're talking about. I've seen the movies, but I don't.
As neither do I.
And so, James, you play a lot of, what are they called?
They are called video games. And by the way, this is an FYI. Let me
video games out. I was wondering. It's like, oh, he's going to say something sarcastic. He was like, no.
I want to. I want to, because video games, a lot of people think of them as, in the grand scheme of history, much more recent than they are. The first video game, quote unquote, is credited to a physicist. And I'm going to mispronounce the last name, but it's William, I want to say Higginbotham. Higginbotham. You can look this up.
I now know what I'm going to name the next character I write.
Higginbotham. You know, many Higginbotham spies died to bring you Pong. No, he created a very simple tennis game, and even it's not Pong. He did not create Pong. He created the precursor to Pong, though. Pong came out in the 1970s, and he created the precursor.
What was the precursor called? Ping Pong. They just shortened it.
No, before Pong there was Ping. That would have worked. You could have went that way.
No, I was in my head like, what's up to sup? Forget it.
But he was born in 1910. I mean, he invented it in 1950. He was 48 years old. He invented what is credited as the first video game. Born in Connecticut. He graduated from Williams College. In 1948, he joined Brookhaven's National Laboratory Instrumentation Group.
Are we really going to do the whole history of
No. Basically, what got him to start doing it?
Did we do a movie from Ping Pong?
They were giving tours of the labs and to try to get people interested in what the labs were doing. And it turns out, Joe, you know what's not drawing a big crowd? Walking through a lab.
I was going to say watching a video game, but that literally Stitcher or whatever it is kills us every week. So I'm wrong.
No. My son doesn't listen to anything I say, and I'm not talking just on the show. I mean in general, but he will watch other people
put down that revolver, son. It's loaded. He just kept right on going.
I tried to tell him he's not Russian, but he likes to roulette that way. Anyway, too soon, too late. I don't know.
Too late,
anyway,
more than too soon. Too soon would have helped.
Oh my God, we have now
too soon. You'd have been a precog.
We have now offended 2-celled organisms. If we offend 1-cell organisms, we have no viewers. Anyway, that being said, he created something. He was like, well, we're doing this experimentation on visualization, stuff like that. So he decided, hey, what if we had a visualization you could interact with? And he created what became the precursor to Pong, which was a very simple ping pong type game where you would bat this digital ball back and forth. And so that's the first video game. Now, what we're talking about today then is movies made off of video games. Right. And I actually I thought we could start this, but we're not going to pick our top 3 this week.
We're not. We're doing it different.
Because the simple truth is, do we each have 3 favorite video game movies?
I could tell you 3 video game movies I probably have enjoyed, but I don't know that I have 3 movies that I really like.
Well, Well, so real quick, I want to say this because I think this is a good way to start this. This is almost a philosophical question. So when video games started to get big, one of the things that they sold them on, so to speak, one of the ways that people tried to get people excited about them is it's like a movie, except you can interact with it.
Yes.
So why did movies, which are known for their lack of interaction, you sit and you watch?
I told that bitch not to go in that room 15 times. She still walked in and got chopped up by
once again. Flashback from one of my favorite movie watching experiences. He ain't gonna put that in his mouth, is he? He did. Most times I would have been mad. That made that movie that much better. Now, that being said, so why do you think it is? Why do you think they went back and tried to adapt video games into movies? Because they're not generally highly ranked, very successful. I mean, they make money sometimes, but they're not. Let's say they're not critical darlings.
I think.
What is it about video games?
Hollywood in general will try to cash on anything that's successful, and they see video games as successful, and they're like, "Hey, we can make money off this. Let's make a movie." And then I think and here's my honest opinion, and Joe, you can chime in after I'm done. The big problem is I just don't think video games themselves warrant good movie telling, because video games do not tell a straight narrative like you see in movies, and it's hard to adapt that, in my opinion.
Okay. I would say, well, go ahead.
Well, all right. To speak to what I hate it when people say to speak to. Actually, I heard it 15 times this week. So talking about what Chad just said, which is the same thing. I'm 50-50 there. I'm 50
to parlay Chad's message in a different way.
In a different way. I get what Chad's saying, and I 50% agree with you. I don't know that they've figured it out yet, actually, because you say the same thing with no. What I wanted to say, it's 2-part of why Hollywood does it. One, Hollywood's cannibal. It eats everything, right? Yeah. Movies have always done that, whether it be cartoon strips, novels, short stories. It just constantly, from the golden age of cinema, constantly needs input, for lack of a better word. Hollywood is generally 5.
Real quick, just so you know, and we also just got announced today that they're going to try another Predator movie, for God's sake. So I
saw that. But anyway, you threw me for a loop, dude. I was going really well, and I had the one. And the second part of that is the biggest hurdle, specifically now more than ever, that Hollywood has to deal with is brand recognition in the marketplace. That's the reason we get remakes all the time. That's the reason why we get shows where they base them on shows and books and novels, because they're hoping to get some sort of brand recognition. Because you boys know, all 3 of us know, maybe our general audience doesn't know, that most of the money is spent in marketing, and that's hard. How do I get people to go to the theater, to the cinemas, and see a movie on Friday? And a lot of times it's easier if they can do the brand recognition. This is a huge problem. So it's twofold. It's easy to think, oh, how many cartridges or whatever did they sell of Super Mario Brothers? I have no idea.
Well, I mean,
let's say
for a long time, if you bought
with the game,
right, a shit ton. So if you're going to make a movie And you're like, well, how am I going to get everybody to go see it? I know. I'll pay some a-hole who owns that title, and we'll make a movie from it, and everybody knows it. I think that's where it comes from. They're constantly looking for that, constantly looking for material and name recognition.
But they keep going to that well, and they never get it.
I mean, there's some that are good. There are.
Well, yeah, there's some exceptions, but also too.
But I don't think they've quite figured it out yet.
And then there's some exceptions, which we'll get into. But then, you also got to look at the reverse of that, because there's some few exceptions in this case too. They take movies, turn them into video games, and the majority of those video games suck. Star Wars and James Bond excluded, even though most of the James Bond games are trash anyway. But
probably most.
GoldenEye's the gold standard.
But
probably trash as well.
But no, they don't. They don't seem to connect. There hasn't been a formula established yet to where they connect in both areas.
Yeah, well, something you said earlier, though, that I think has somewhat changed as we've gotten into modern gaming systems. Like, I agree, Mario Brothers doesn't have a plot other than rescue the princess. But on some of the modern games, I mean, they have some epic storytelling built into them. But I think the problem is when they try to adapt them to film, they, as Joe was kind of saying, they buy, quote unquote, the title, and then they don't do anything that any of those games did. Right. One example of that I think, they make some references to some existing stuff in the games, but the Final Fantasy film, The Spirits Within, Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within.
Yeah.
Oh.
Based on, I mean, it's not directly based on, it doesn't take any of the stories from the Final Fantasy games and make them into a film. It takes that world, and the problem is there's multiple worlds in Final Fantasy anyway, and it says, okay, we're going to make a movie. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and
it's ghost animals, right?
And there's 56 Final Fantasy games. And the other thing with these video games, it's not like it was Lord of the Rings and you've got one person, Tolkien, who didn't quite know where he was going, but there's one guy controlling a narrative. We have video games themselves that being made are a team process. I know movies are too, but they often, a lot of your great films that you're talking about have one distinct voice controlling that ship. There's a lot of input, but there's one distinct voice controlling that ship down the way. That's what makes most good movies great. Right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
So I don't know that video games are the same kind of thing. And the unfortunate thing about it is I don't play a lot of games. So I don't know as much to talk about it. We probably should have had a gamer on here to kind of talk about this as well. But what part do you adapt? So for Mario, you buy the name. You screw up the whole process of getting it made. Even though I'm with Chad, sometimes I think it's a goofy little fun movie, as awful as it is.
It's awful, but man, it's fun sometimes, especially just looking at the train wreck that's in front of you.
Yeah, I just like looking at the set sometimes.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in years, but I know that I've looked at it before just to look at the sets and some of the designs. I don't know that I'd have went with that. But how do they, for example, Resident Evil? So are we just plowing into it now? Do you mind if I bring up Resident Evil?
Oh, let's go.
Romero was going to do Resident Evil. George Romero's version was going to be like the video game. They start out here, wherever that is, this team, as they make their way to the mansion. Correct? I'm pretty sure that's the kind of the plot of the first Resident Evil.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah.
So that never got made. The video game people never really got on board with him. He wrote many scripts. Later on, we get a Paul W.S. Anderson. And by the way, he gets shit on a lot. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan of all of his movies. In fact, I'm not a huge fan of any of his movies. I like scenes. I love scenes in Event Horizon, but overall, I still say it's a mess. I always argue with people who love it. I like the movie, but it's still kind of a mess. That being said, Resident Evil, I enjoyed it. Chad and I watched it together in the theater. I remember it. I remember it distinctly because I remember Chad looking over at me going, when are we going to get her? Because he wanted more her. And I agreed with him. When were we going to get more her? We were about 45 minutes into the movie. But it's basically the first part of the game. The movie's basically the first part and this last part are all that's out of the video game, correct?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the video.
I'm asking James.
I'll be honest. I never.
That's what gets made. So I'm curious why because some of these video game companies do have say so. For example, Warcraft, they do have say so. So why do they let them change so much?
I wonder. That's a good question. I wonder if some of it.
If the plot's right there.
Yeah, well, and I wonder. It's kind of the same argument, and obviously it's not a video game movie, but Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter was adapted by the guy that wrote the novel, and he changed his successful novel into the movie we got. But bringing up World of Warcraft brings up another thing. Is it okay to change it because you're not risking your bottom line? You know what I'm saying? Like the gamers are going to show up. No matter what happened in that movie, it's not like people that have been playing World of Warcraft for 4 years are going to go, oh, that movie is terrible. I'm not playing this week. That's not going to happen.
Right. And now it's past, right? I mean, do people still play World of Warcraft?
Yeah, I mean, there's some. Matter of fact, they just re-released.
And let's be honest, that movie was a success. It sucked.
Well,
I'm looking it up.
Worldwide, it made almost 440 million. So we're talking about almost $500 million. It bombed domestically, but internationally, it was a big hit on a budget of 160. So for our fans out there, rule of thumb is that you should double your budget for it to break even. So that'd be 320 million, made 430 million. So it was a slight success considering how much it cost.
Right.
But have you all seen it?
It is a boring. It is a boring movie.
Boring. It's fucking boring. The director that was going to be who, Chad?
Oh, I can't remember.
Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi worked on that movie for almost a year, and they did not like his take.
And it would have been way better than that. And I like Duncan Moon. I like Duncan Moon. He's a great director. He has a great vision. But man, that movie's not
a boring ass movie.
I'm trying to remember which movie. And again, The Experience. I'm trying to remember which movie I was more bored at, 2001 or this, because there were parts like I had to fast forward.
Well, I don't think Warcraft's an experience.
No, 2001, I had to fast forward through parts. I literally had to watch World of Warcraft over the span of several days. I could not sit down and watch it.
It's pretty boring.
As someone that played World of Warcraft but never bothered to watch the movie, what's the plot?
Seen it?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, I don't even remember the plot. I can't think the plot. It went through one eyeball and out the other.
Something about a war between two.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
I would assume
then Moses is sent down the river
between the Horde and the Alliance. I would assume the Alliance being more the humans.
It's boring.
I just know there's a troll Moses. That's all I know.
Which leads me to another video game that was extremely successful that they tried to make a movie out of several times that Del Toro himself was attached to. Is why did we never get a Halo game?
You mean a movie?
Yeah, the Halo.
We had plenty of Halo games.
Why was there never a Halo movie? It's literally built there.
But do you think we need? I guess this is my caveat.
That did not get made.
With so many of these, do we need them now? I mean, the graphics are almost. No, I mean, do we need to? Should we be looking at video games to be adapted to movies? And I say this is somebody that has enjoyed a couple video game movies. Watched a couple with my son recently. But as the graphics have gotten so good, on do we need to put that on the big screen? I mean, do the plot to Halo I can play, and it is graphically sound. It's not like Super Mario Brothers, when I needed Mario and I was like, well, Mario is a couple sprites on the screen, pixel 8-bit. Let's get Bob Hoskins to play. So is that one of the challenges we have?
I don't think so. To me, and this is going to sound very artistic, and I don't mean to, but it's all about story, right? I don't understand how they could never nail these damn stories and characters down in these damn video games. They do not work so much. It's like one I was looking at. I pulled up a list, and I'm not even looking at it now. But I was thinking Max Payne. That movie with Mark Wahlberg was visually pretty. I couldn't tell you the plot. Couldn't give two shits. The movie sucked. I don't remember anything about it. I just remember some shots in it were nice. Same thing with Warcraft. To start a
franchise.
Can't tell you the plot of Warcraft. Don't remember. So clearly, none of this is stuck with
Troll Moses. That's the point of World of Warcraft. Was Troll Moses?
I don't even remember Troll Moses. Did they have a Troll Jesus?
No, just Troll
Divided
Moses.
off
He was going to be in the sequel. But you know, that's the
have
other
a
thing.
steel cage. Troll Jesus comes down with a steel chair.
That being said, actually, that's a good point because
Troll
I
Jesus
think
uses a crown of thorns.
oh my God.
Too far?
I think,
Too far.
I think, dude, we went too far in this episode. So we are going to lose everybody before this is over, just like me in high school. Anyway,
Or just keep turning into hate, which is fine with me. I've been fucked before.
that being said, you know, the flip side of it is, as you talked about that, I was thinking the problem with World of Warcraft is that World of Warcraft itself is pop cultural reflective.
Yeah.
Like it mocks pop culture itself. For instance, there's a goblin character, and I may be getting my class wrong. I haven't played in a while World of Warcraft, people. Don't come after me. I'm but mortal and liable to fall. That being said, there's a character, a vendor that's a goblin or a troll or something, and his name is Floyd Pincus.
Oh, it's Floyd the Barber.
No, it's Floyd Pincus. And he tends to talk about problems with walls and things like that because his name's Floyd Pincus. It's a Pink Floyd reference. You can't, if you put that in a movie, it's groan inducing. In the game, it's groan inducing as well. But you're like, that's fun. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. But maybe that doesn't translate in the movie. So you're trying to adapt something that is referential of everything else into a movie. I don't know. I think it's
well, let's talk about one that does work for me that I know sucks. Mortal Kombat. Paul Anderson.
That's fun.
I know that movie's awful. I haven't watched it in a long time. I
watched it with my son about 3 weeks ago.
How does it stand up?
Oh, I mean, it is.
Ted's shaking his head no.
It is not good.
It's not good,
but
it's
it
fun.
Is fun.
Is it still fun? It wasn't good then.
Dude, I'll be honest. Every time, I love the fact.
Just Many Christmas.
I love the fact Christopher Lambert might as well lean over and take a bite off the set occasionally.
Christopher Lambert is leaning over to see where he's look at the picture of the boat he's buying. He just got the check he's cashed.
His last line in that is still one of my favorite endings to a movie where they're like, oh, and the storm comes and setting up the sequel. And he says something, and like his last words, I think, are he laughs and goes, huh, mortals. And it just ends. And I'm awful. Like, man, what a great way to end. Because what are you going to do? Oh, the world's going to end now because you beat the first level effectively. And so now the greater demons are coming because you stopped the lesser demon. And
that's ends. Right, because it has the really bad
CGI
of the thing coming down and yelling, right? Oh, I forgot all about it.
Yeah,
but the multi-arm dudes. I don't remember any of the names of these.
Goro. I think his name's Goro.
Goro.
And there's the lizard
reptile.
All of that is to say. But if you think about the movie, and this is what I'll actually say about Mortal Kombat, the movie, and I will defend it, it is a much more logical movie than the game sets it up to be. Because think about what that game
doesn't have a plot. Now, I did play a lot of Mortal Kombat drunk.
Yeah, well, basically the plot to Mortal Kombat is you get taken to this other world and you have to fight, and they adapted that into a movie.
Yeah, I see what James is talking about. They did make that into a linear story.
I will say this.
It is not great, but can I watch it with my son?
It does make logical sense. These fuckers went to another plane of reality to fight
to defend humanity.
Yes, to fight over existence. James,
I'm not arguing. And by the way, I enjoy Mortal Kombat. I know it's one of those ones where I know Mario Brothers is bad and there's not a story there, but I enjoy it. Mortal Kombat is just popcorn fun. There's problems I have with the character development in that movie.
There is no character development.
Well, no. So for example, and this is me getting on a soapbox, and at the time I didn't mind it because I had a huge crush on Bridget Wilson. I think that's her name. But they take these female
scene in What's It Face.
Yeah, they take these female characters and they could be strong, kick-ass characters, and then at the end they're still just damsels in distresses, and it bugged the shit out of me. As an adult, it did. I was just like, but it was like they could have done something else with those characters. So I do want to recommend something because it kind of flew underneath the radar. Warner Brothers has these animated straight to video releases, and they did a great movie this year called Mortal Kombat: Scorpion's Revenge. And I think it tells a better story than that Mortal Kombat does. And the kills in that one are way more brutal than that movie.
So, well, and I was going to say that the kills in, I mean, I think that's one of the things a lot of people are disappointed by, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mortal Kombat, the movie is PG-13.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure it's PG-13.
Yeah. It's not, there's not, it's not.
You couldn't have the fatalities. Like the only fatality, you got him sucking out their soul. Shang Tsung sucks out their soul or whatever. That's it. That's
flawless victory.
Which leads me to another movie based on a video game that I did play the shit out of that actually doesn't have much of a plot. But I always thought there's no way you can screw this up. And they did. Doom.
Yeah.
Now, I enjoy scenes in the movie Doom. In fact, I saw it a while back, caught it, watched a little while of it.
Great cast.
But you're right. I found myself going, this is just as awful, but here's Carl Urban, here's The Rock, here's that crazy some bitch from the Rob Zombie, Richard Brake. Richard Brake's good character actor. Here they all are. I keep watching it again. It's awful. I have no idea how they screw that up.
I think it's because they
didn't even go to hell. They just went to Mars.
No, I'm saying, do you think that's the flip side? Do you think the flip side is, again, it's almost like they bought, well, people will know the name Doom, so they'll come.
I think you're right. I don't know. Castle Wolfenstein, or is that what it's called?
Yeah, it was Castle Wolfenstein. Now it's just the franchise is called Wolfenstein because they've.
How have they never made a successful? Have they ever made a movie out of that? To my knowledge, I don't think so.
I don't think they have.
I think
there's been talk.
Do that.
They have greenlit 4,000 of them.
Right.
And there may be an animated one. Maybe, but no, you're right. I think I don't know why, but and it would seem like it'd be an easy sell, right? Like to me, and Hollywood, if you're listening and want me to screenwrite this, Twitter, find me. Why wouldn't you do? I mean, Castle Wolfenstein, Nazis and demons.
Yeah.
Throw in a Ron Perlman cameo, get somebody Indiana Jones that up, and you've got a movie.
You've got a movie.
I will say this: a movie from recent that actually gets credited as being the Wolfenstein movie is Overlord.
I like Overlord a lot.
I do too, but they could a lot of people. If you look online, a lot of websites call that the Wolfenstein movie that they've always wanted. So,
problem is I think that Overlord has a slight more brain. Well, not that slight more brains. They're on the floor. But a little bit smarter than I want my Wolfenstein movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to make something good, but I also want to watch. I think on that one, I want to make something you watch on a Saturday afternoon about half cocked. So Doom, there once again, but I enjoyed parts of it. It's not very good. I don't quite understand, but. You're right, James. Do I just enjoy parts of it because the cast is so good?
Well, I mean,
the one POV scene.
Yeah, the POV scene's fun. They did get that right, probably, right? If you're a fan of the video game.
Yeah. But I think the other thing is, can we talk about the video game series that I enjoyed, especially when it got to CD-ROM. So I'm going to talk about a computer game for a second. But when it got to CD-ROM and they had voiceover talent and stuff like that, and that was the Wing Commander video game series. Mark Hamill, and you had basically some Wookiee ripoffs, and the game was a ton of fun. And then they brought out this movie called Wing Commander, and it's about 90 minutes. It has nothing to do.
That movie existed solely for the fact that it could rip off the Matrix.
I guess. I don't, guys, I've seen scenes, but I was sitting here going through the list, and it's one of them. I don't think I ever bothered to watch the whole damn movie. I don't think I ever have seen it.
I mean, the general plot line, like I said, they were Wookiee, like they're actually cat Wookiees. They're called the Kilrathi. And if you played the
Are they called cookies?
No, Kilrathi. The Kilrathi versus the Kilrathi Empire versus the Terran Confederation.
I could just be thinking of cookies all the time because I'm a fat bastard, but keep going.
But I mean, it's got a great cast. It's got Gorkon in it, and by that I mean David Warner plays the Admiral. It's got Matthew Lillard in it. It's got. I just don't know why you had
Screw
a
that guy.
movie. You had a movie.
You steal one
made-
remote from Chad, and he never remote. You steal one microphone.
Microphone.
From Chad, he never lets
you have literally they filmed it because the CD-ROM game, you would play the action part, then it would cut to, it was called FMV at the time, full motion video in the game.
Yeah.
And it was Mark Hamill. They had to film that. And I was like, so you had Mark Hamill recorded all that stuff. And yeah, it was made 10 years before this movie was. Well, actually, probably about 5-6 years before the movie was. Why would you go, you know what we need to do? Let's not bring in that Star Wars that we used to sell the game. Let's get Freddie Prinze Jr. and well, I don't know. I don't get it. And the idea of a battle hardened, well, Freddie Prinze Jr. doesn't look battle hardened. He looks dreamy. I mean, he's not my type, but he's, yeah. I don't know why. So I think that's the other thing is that a lot of video games, for instance, and again, I think video game movies, the more I think about it, I said it with World of Warcraft and Floyd Pincus, but I even think Metal Gear, which is getting its movie now. I mean, Metal Gear, the character is called Snake, and he ends up with one eye, and at one point he goes undercover and he uses the name of Pliskin as his under.
That's a whole other point. I'm glad you got to. And that you were talking about, I was talking about movies ripping off video games, but video games clearly came later and been ripping off movies for quite a while.
Well, and it's just this natural. I mean, because the
people who made them are nerds.
Well, and they're and you said movies are cannibals, video games are cannibals. I mean, how many? Minecraft came out and made money, so now we've got Roblox and we've got blah blah blah, and we got. And we got Trexels, which is the Star Trek thing where they're pixelated. We used to say, oh, we want less pixelation. We want it to look more like a movie. Now we're going back to, we need more pixels because those are popular. I don't understand that.
Retro thing, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so, but I think that's it.
Left.
I think the ongoing challenges there. But I think the other thing is that so much of this, and how is it that they can have a movie or have a game that doesn't have a plot or that has a very simple plot, and then they make it into an animated movie and it makes a ton of money? Angry Birds. The plot to Angry Birds is these birds are angry because the pigs have ate their eggs. That's the plot. That movie made $352 million.
I am not ashamed to say that I enjoy that movie.
I never saw it.
My kids watched it.
Is it better than Pikachu?
Yes.
No, I disagree. Detective Pikachu is awesome.
I enjoyed Detective Pikachu. I don't get me wrong. I never need to watch it again, but it was better.
I enjoyed it.
I don't know that I had no expectations, and it was free, so I saw it, and it was okay.
There are parts in Angry Birds where I legitimately chuckled, and I'm just like, I should not be chuckling at an Angry Birds movie, but here I am enjoying it. So,
did you also enjoy the Emoji Movie?
No, that movie's a
nobody
turd.
liked the Emoji.
Literally a turd,
but had great casting.
But the one thing about the Emoji Movie, that's positive. If it hadn't been for the Emoji Movie, we probably wouldn't have got Get Out, Us, and whatever Jordan Peele is going to give us next.
Why?
He gave up on comedy when he was offered the role of the poop emoji. He said, okay, if this is the roles that they think I'm fit for, I'm going to go make my own damn thing.
By the way, Chet, you talked about Angry Birds. Now, I have seen the Angry Birds, the first movie. I watched it with my kids. I don't remember much of it, to be honest. Yeah. Have you seen the second one?
Yeah. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still okay.
I was going to ask you because critics disagree. Rotten Tomatoes, the first Angry Birds movie, is at 43%, with the Metacritic score being 43. Angry Birds 2 is at 73% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Wow.
And
I enjoyed it, but I like I said, I just enjoyed parts of part one. So
real quick, gentlemen, we talked about Pikachu. I'm looking through this list of some things that just. So here's another one that's been remade now twice: Tomb Raider.
And I don't enjoy any of those.
By the way, I don't either. Even the newest one, I didn't. probably is a slightly more realistic, but not really. I don't
Of
think I ever actually saw the second Tomb Raider with Angelina Jolie.
Of the live action films,
Yes.
if you want to break it down by what critics say, and whether you do or not, there are only so far released. There's a ton of video game movies getting ready to come out. We'll talk about those later. But if you look at Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic, what the average score are, there are actually only 3 live action films, I think, that are over. I'm sorry, I take that back. 4 live action films based on video games that are over 50% approval rate. Those are Detective Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog, Rampage, and Tomb Raider. Okay, the new Tomb Raider, not the Angelina Jolie ones.
It's not awful. It may be slightly better. I don't know. I'm kind of with Chad. It was forgettable. It had a couple of actors in it that I enjoyed, but it was completely forgettable, and I didn't give a damn. And I saw Rampage. I can't. It was okay. It had The Rock. Honest to God, I'm like everybody else in America. He's a damn star. If he's in a movie for an hour and a half, I don't know that I'm going to go out of my way to watch it. But if I'm watching it, I like The Rock, so I'll probably give it a pass, even though the movie sucks.
Well, I was going to say, and I haven't seen Rampage, but I love that game.
I liked it too. I
liked it too, but I did not care for the movie. I was like, you're trying to make, again, it falls into that same concept of you take a simple video game of literally monsters climbing up buildings, eating people and bashing it, and you turn it into a zookeeper movie. And I'm just like,
not to be confused with Kevin James.
Yeah, no. Yeah, it didn't need to happen. It was, everything about that movie bothered me. And even though The Rock was in it, there's plenty of Rock movies that I actually can't watch. See Fast and the Furious, all of them.
Yeah.
Hobbs and Shaw was okay.
Hobbs and
Shaw was pretty good.
By the way, I have no
Hobbs and Shaw. I'm never going to watch it again. But while I was watching it, I enjoyed it.
Hobbs and Shaw is, and so the backstory on how I ended up seeing that has nothing to do with video game movies. But my son had never seen any of the Fast and Furious movies, but he wanted to see Hobbs and Shaw. He just saw the trailer for it what now?
I think you told this story.
Yeah, and he wanted to see it, so we went and saw it. We went back and we watched all the other ones. He could care less about the Fast and Furious movie. He liked Hobbs and Shaw.
I liked Hobbs and Shaw too.
And by the way, hold a gun to my head and tell me I have to pick something from that franchise.
Of course,
Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, it's the funny one. It's the one where they're breaking each other's balls. Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
it's just the same way I raised my son.
Speaking of busting balls, there is one here, but I've never played the video game, so I don't know. But I did thoroughly enjoy the movie, and I'm wondering why it's not showing up on a lot of lists. Silent Hill.
Yeah, that is not showing up on lists.
I don't see it on a few.
That would probably be the number one video game movie for me in terms of
Silent Hill was rated only 31% approval by both Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes.
I find that interesting because it's the only one, but I've never played the game. So
I have. This is one I've actually played. I've actually played the video game, and I don't know this. I can't remember the plot of the video game, but I mean, I thought it captured some of the elements of when it gets dark, all those creatures come out, and it's creepy as hell.
And the sound. I mean, that stupid siren will be in my head till I die from that film. I hear stuff like that now, and I'm like, I'm gonna turn around. There's gonna be some ash demon behind me.
I don't know whether it's not on more lists. Here's another list that's not on here, and most of these that I'm looking at have been made in the last 10 or 15 years. And by the way, what's on a couple of lists that I make no sense is talking about a boring piece of shit film, god awful, Prince of Persia. Damn.
So I gotta admit, in prep for this, I watched Prince of Persia again because I could not.
Why?
Okay, so hold on. So when I first watched Prince of Persia, I could not get through it. It was terrible.
Okay.
And plus, let's not even, we're not even going to get into the whitewashing of that movie.
And the director's talented. It's Mike Newell or whatever.
Mike Newell.
Yeah. He directed the only Harry Potter movie I like.
Yeah, and it's Alfred Molina. I'm gonna pardon me for not butchering her name, but Gemma Atherton.
Gemma Atherton. Yeah.
And they all are wearing Ben Kingsley. They're all wearing terrible spray on tans except Jake Gyllenhaal, who
Jake Gyllenhaal's a good actor.
Yeah, he's a good actor, but man, that movie's bad. And I'm just like, how could Disney theoretically screw something up that bad? Hire people and now they've started to do that. They're like, oh, we can't do Prince. I don't know if Prince of Persia was the turnaround for them of going, we can't do this no more.
I think all of this shit has been in the last 3 or 4 years. I don't think Prince of Persia was it, but yeah, keep going.
But it's just, so I watched it again to see if it got better, because I was like, Joe, I hated this movie. I literally could not stand watching it. It's still bad, but it's not as bad as I remember it.
Really?
It sucks. It's terrible. I would rather watch Super Mario Brothers over Prince of Persia. But if you get past the overt racism.
The overt racism didn't even here. I'm not trying to be horrible, but the overt racism didn't bother me as much as the fucking plot.
Yeah, it's just no, it's not good. It's just not good. And you know what? And I'm going to bypass Prince because it's not good and it should not be on any list. Silent Hill should be on a list. Another one that so I sort of enjoyed this. I never played the video game, and I think it was just because of who was in it. I enjoyed Hitman.
Really?
Yeah. There were some good scenes in it. And Timothy Olyphant can.
I like Timothy Olyphant, but God, he's miscast in that.
Oh yeah, he's completely miscast, but he's still. It's Timothy Olyphant.
He's also miscast in that Die Hard. Die Hard 4 is the villain.
But they get, oh God. Yeah, that we don't need to talk about Die Hard 4. Or Die Hard 5.
It's not, I was about to say, it's not the worst Die Hard film.
No. But no, that's one movie who I just can't see how they drop the ball on. Both of those, Prince of Persia and Hitman. How do you drop the ball on two epic games? I don't understand.
Never played either one of them. I don't know. I just hated the movies. Ugh.
James,
I'm trying to think of another good one, and of course my internet's freezing up because I'm having a hard time thinking of good ones. And on top of that, these lists are awful. Like here's Tomb Raider coming up on another one.
The new one or the Angelina Jolie?
The new one.
Okay. Another reason why I couldn't stand the Angelina Jolie versions is that her shitty British accent. It bothers me every time.
Assassin's Creed was another boring ass movie.
That doesn't even follow the video game, right, James?
Yeah, here's the thing. I watched probably the first 20 minutes of Assassin's Creed, and I honestly went, I'd rather play the game.
Does it follow the video game at all?
Yeah, I mean, there's this idea that there's a legacy of assassins and all of that. So, see, I only watched the first 25 minutes.
Through time, right?
Yeah, you go into the machine and it puts you back different times and stuff like that. That being said, I honestly, I don't know what just fell. Something fell behind me. Sure, we'll figure out what that was later. Anyway, the problem with that thing is it didn't make me want to watch the movie. It made me realize, you know what's more fun than watching, because it felt like I was watching somebody else play. It's better if I pick up the controller and play myself.
Yeah.
So it's literally, the video game is about people in the future plugging into a machine and going back and being assassins?
Sort of. I mean, there's a lineage. Like there's this entire mythology, because there's one that's set during the colonial period and you've got to find Benjamin Franklin. It sounds silly, but it's fun to play as a game. It does not work well when I'm watching someone else do it.
Okay.
It's silly.
No, I tried watching that in a hotel room on a trip for work. And I actually got out and just drove around because I couldn't sit in the hotel room. It was making me uncomfortable watching that movie. It's just dumb.
All right, here, guys, I'm going to piss you off really quick. Well, I think I want to piss off Chad. I'm not doing it on purpose.
Yeah, you are. You do it. Okay, you do it all the time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. But this particular time, fuck you. I'm not doing it on purpose. This is from therap.com, just so that we make sure that we give everybody. They have 46 video game movies listed, and 46 being the bottom of the barrel.
I'm really shocked that there's that many.
There's a lot of Resident Evils on here. So 46 video game movies. Number 46 is Postal. That's bullshit. That is not the worst video game movie ever made.
No.
That's not even close. Number 45 is Alone in the Dark. I'll give them that. 45, Alone in the Dark may be one of the worst movies I have ever seen. It's way worse than House of the Dead. But Postal is probably Uwe Boll's best film. Now, don't get me wrong. Do not, if you're listening, go out and watch Postal.
You don't want to see Dave. You don't want to see Dave Foley full frontal. You just
maybe you do. Maybe you do. I don't give a shit. It's not a good movie. I'm just telling you, out of all of his movies, that's his best film that I have seen is Postal. It's the only one that has a smidgen of creativity. Well,
that was going to be what pissed me off.
Well, I just thought you might be pissed off that Postal wasn't they considered Postal the worst video game movie.
No, if it's a Uwe Boll movie, it's going to be bad anyway. I'm surprised.
It's not 46. Well, it pisses me off. I don't see how that's 46.
I mean, in all fairness, in Name of the King
they're all worse than Postal.
Yeah.
They're all worse. The Name of the King's like in the 20s here, and that's bullshit because that movie's boring as hell too.
Oh man, that movie's terrible.
Oh, his Blood Rain. Oh, how did they screw up Blood Rain? They
didn't have a budget or a writer.
Well, they had a writer. I actually have read. Have you guys ever seen her story about that? No. She wrote a draft about what it could be, and he called up and talked shit to her and said, and then she's like, and told her agent never let him talk to it again. And then they just went out and shot that movie. He's like, no, hold on, no, that's just what we could do. That's not. It's like the first draft. No, this is what we're going to do.
I mean, the video game was vampires versus Nazis. It should have been a blast as a movie.
Nope.
By the way, Chad, I wanted to go back and check on this because I haven't played a bunch of the Assassin's Creed's game, so I only know a little bit about it. But I found an article, and let me give credit. This is from Quartz, the website. It's an article by Cameron Kunzelman, who is the editor-at-large of Pace Games. And this is his commentary about the movie and where he says the movie went wrong. And I'm just going to quote this. As it turns out, there was good reason to be nervous about how mainstream cinema would interpret Assassin's Creed, a game that was experimental in all the right ways. The game told the story of a modern-day conspiracy revolving around the medieval organization known as the Knights Templar, who had captured a young man named Desmond Miles. By using a machine called the Animus, the Templars could trace his genetic memory in order to have him live out the life of his ancestor, Altair ibn Lahad. By observing his actions as he lived out these fantasies, they were able to track a mystical artifact that could dominate and control the minds of man. Surprisingly, Assassin's Creed deftly weaved all these moving pieces into an engaging plot. It married an action game framework to a more cinematic and mature tone, and it pushed video games forward as a storytelling medium. More importantly, at least from an intellectual and media property standpoint, it worked to get the player invested in this intricate world of Templars and assassins, much as Star Wars or Harry Potter franchises plunge fans into the universe with its own set of rules. They fleshed this out over the course of 8 games and also added comic books, online shorts, animated films, novels, and encyclopedia. Taken together, they provided a massive interconnected web of stories, characters, and fictional shadow histories of the entire world.
Okay, did somebody who plays a video game really dive that much into playing
the film ignored all of that. That's You want your audience hooked on a world, not a particular format. And that's what video games try to do. They try to hook you in the world. It's the argument that he's making. That way, yes, you'll play the game, but you'll want the sequel. You'll want things like that. And, he said that doesn't work for film, as he goes on to say. You want Michael Fassbender on screen flexing his arms and acting. You want viewers to say, well, I just got to know more about these assassins and their creed. But when you get to the film, it just didn't work. It was deeply flawed because it is caught between being an introduction to the world and as yet another node in this larger storytelling. And he said, so the diehard fans of Assassin's Creed went, you're not giving me anything new because they've had all this backstory, but it was too complicated for people to buy into on a surface level because you had to have some of the backstory to understand what was supposed to be going on in the movie. That's his argument. I just wanted to expand on that because like I said I played one Assassin's Creed game. It's not my favorite franchise.
So the rap has Resident Evil Retribution being the best video game movie ever made, which is bullshit. And here, let me tell you why.
Which one's Retribution? Because I don't know all the
That's the reason why I say it's bullshit. I'm actually just, while James was talking, sorry, James, I'm sorry, sure, whatever you said was genius. It took me 2 minutes to figure out where it was in line of that. I have no idea what the plot was. Chad, it's the one before the last one.
Is that the one that like introduces that the female from the second one as the villain? I can't remember.
I don't know. It's the one before the last one.
Okay.
Who's the female from the Michelle Rodriguez is back in this one?
No, yeah.
Jill Valentine, Sienna Gilroy.
That one, yeah. She comes back in that one as the villain at the end.
You remember more than I do. There we go.
That is literally all I remember.
They have that as the best one ever. Horse shit on their list.
According to, okay, so I sorted this again. I went back and sorted this. The number one on Metacritic is Mortal Kombat, where they combine all the number one on Rotten Tomatoes. Let me resort this again to make sure I'm not crazy, but I think it's Detective Pikachu.
I like Detective Pikachu, but clearly that's not a great movie.
No, and it's so effing predictable. I don't know why I just censored myself. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. The kids liked it. I enjoyed watching it with them. But
do you think that's why it's so highly rated, though?
Ryan Reynolds in it. What'd you say?
Do you think that's why it's so highly rated?
I don't know, because Ryan Reynolds is in it.
No, it's comfort food. It's a Pokemon movie that's not a Pokemon movie. Like, I don't have to go in and know what all ones I have to collect. I got to collect them all. That's what they catch them. I'm sorry, you got to catch them all.
Catch them all. Yeah.
I don't know all of them, so but I don't have to know all of them. So I, as a non, whatever the term is, I can't say non-geek because I'm a geek, but
Philistine, layman.
I think he just called you a really something horrible, but I don't know.
Anyway, but
douche canoe.
Sure.
Why can't they have a kayak? What's wrong with the douche people in the kayak?
The paddles.
Is it
the paddles?
Paddles. That makes sense.
Not safe, Joe. They're not safe.
Not safe. Yeah.
Anyway,
but keep going, James, because I'm about to tell you we're running out of video game movies because I've got the whole fucking list here. We haven't talked about Street Fighter, which has one good scene in it, and that's it.
Raul Julia made that though because he won something.
What's the one good scene in Street Fighter? Because honestly, I can't think of one good scene.
Change the channel.
Oh, okay.
The idiot and the thing's coming towards the tent, and they can see it on the TV.
And we do got to. And that brings us to one that we haven't discussed because the late 90s, in terms of really shitty comic video game movies, the late 90s definitely had their glut. And we can't stop not talk about a video game episode without talking about Double Dragon, people.
I never even seen it till a few years ago.
Now that is a pure example of how the hell did that happen?
Well, it's just a low budget film.
And then they're two brothers, and one's clearly of Asian descent, and the other one is white as white can be.
Well, that's the Double Dragon.
I mean, that is as white as why we're in the situation that we're in now. White. And I mean, it makes no sense. And how do you do that?
I don't know. Did you guys ever watch Tekken? That came out in 2010. I don't even recollect it even coming out.
I was going to say, you know which one I had totally forgot existed? And it was DreamWorks and Disney technically together. It was released by Touchstone, but it's got Disney's stamp on it. Need for Speed.
Yeah, I saw it with Adrian Paul or Adrian Lynn or whoever his name is.
And that movie, that video game doesn't even have a plot.
Well, the movie doesn't either. I saw that in a hotel room somewhere years ago. I don't even remember why. And I caught the last 45 minutes of it. And for that, I don't even remember. I like him because he's in Breaking Bad. He's a good actor. I don't think he's ever gotten the roles he's deserved. But still, it's not awful, but it's completely forgettable.
But yeah, I mean, and again, but I'm serious. There is no plot to Need for Speed. It's literally just a racing game, right, James?
Yeah, I mean, more. Yeah, And
There's no
again, the
plot.
problem is there's 4,000 spinoffs now. I played Need for Speed way back in the day. I'm sure there's one now where it's
James
Grand
is
Theft
the
Auto.
original.
Or something.
James is the OG Need for Speed.
I mean, dude, you know what game? What game? If you gave me money right now and said, "Hey, James, pick a game that you played as a kid that you loved and adapt it into a film," you know what I would make?
What?
I actually was saying about
Oh, I know what I would make.
Road Rash. Anybody ever play Road Rash?
Oh yeah, I had it on PlayStation.
Road Rash was so fun. You steal a motorcycle and then you can grab chains and stuff and beat people when they try to get your motorcycle back. When they try to come for or if a cop tries to pull you over, you can fight the cop and he can mace you. And it was stupid.
I played it simply
fun.
for the fact that the soundtrack on the game was Soundgarden.
Well, I played it old school on Genesis. So you with your newfangled ones. But I mean, I can remember, and it was like you could buy upgrades to the bikes after you stole them. My favorite bike was called Frankenbike because it was one that was literally you stole bikes and pieced it together. That was on one of the versions in the Genesis. So, but I mean, and again, it doesn't have a plot, but what a fun movie that could be of just stealing a bike and fighting people and do that for an hour. Just, I don't care who you cast in it. Doesn't matter. It's a stupid, fun game.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so I don't know why people are doing all these other ones.
Well, that leads me to, since we're running out of video game movies, except you all have seen Sonic the Hedgehog. I haven't seen it.
I have not seen Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh, okay.
Seriously, watch it. If it doesn't become one of your top 10, I would actually almost top 5 video game.
Well, it
movies.
don't take much. Did it shit in your face? Then it's probably going to.
Only in one scene, but it's a good scene.
Oh yeah, it depends on the shit and how much of it got in your face. What do you all want to see? Because I couldn't give two shits. Here's actually one, and they've kind of done it for Netflix, but I would like to have seen a big budget Castlevania film.
Yeah.
That never happened.
I've got 2, so
that's for me. It's right up my alley. They're hunting Dracula. There's vampires and monsters. For me, for my money, it's hard to screw that up. I'm sure they'd find a way. But I'd like to have saw that.
Yeah.
James?
I mean, there's a couple that I would love to see. I mean, I still say there should be a Final Fantasy film somewhere. It is literally the biggest video game franchise. I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this in the world. Like there are holidays given, or people like they have to watch when they release them in Japan because people take time off work and it can slow productivity. I may be slightly over exaggerating, but if I remember some of the articles,
I know we know a set of brothers that have taken time off work for video games.
Yeah, and so to me that seems like there should be something there because those games, even the old ones, did have a linear story. It was some sort of fantasy setup or some sort of mechanical setup, but whatever it was, you were going to fight robots, you were going to fight something. None of the games. The only common thing in those games is the chocobos, which are the giant ostrich things that you ride. That's the only thing that connects the fabric of those realities. That being said, and yes, I know there's going to be somebody out there that goes, well, technically, I don't care. That being said, I don't know why we haven't done anything with that. Why nobody has ever went, hey, here we're to 16 now. I think 15 is the most recent one I got. So at least 15 games in, plus all the spin-offs, plus the crossover with Mickey Mouse.
There's one with Mickey Mouse?
Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is a crossover between Final Fantasy and...
I'm sorry, boys. I had no idea.
Yeah.
No, I mean...
It's basically the same game.
Yeah, except they add in, and you're trying to... Mickey gets trapped behind to save Donald and Goofy. He goes through a door, and he has to lock it, and that's why you're fighting to collect keys so you can save Mickey, and that's the first game. I simplified that. Once again, send your hate mail to chat. That being said... there's stories there. I mean, and to me, the fact that Final Fantasy got a crossover with Disney, and how protective Disney is of those characters, means that they see that linear story in place for those characters. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know why we don't see more that actually uses the plot of the games. But
Chad.
So for me, I got 2. The first one would just be fun. In my opinion, it's Death Race times 100, and that'd be Twisted Metal.
Okay.
I would love to see a Twisted Metal movie.
Directed by Rob Zombie.
Yeah, of just nonstop car like maniacs in cars killing each other.
Mark Hamill did the voice in that?
Yeah, he did the voice of the clown.
Okay.
Not in the first one, but in the second one.
Okay.
Now, seriously, the one video game I would love to see turned into a movie is Oddworld. Oddworld is by far one of my favorite games of all time, and the story behind that would make a great movie. It's about an alien race that is being turned into food by these squid-like monsters, and it's this one tribal alien who's not very powerful, very scrawny, saving his whole planet. It's a great and it's one of the funnest times I've ever had playing a video game. And then for jokes, I would love to see Booger Man made into a movie.
Also directed by Rob Zombie.
No, Rob Zombie better not touch my Booger Man.
Rob Zombie better not touch my Booger Man.
I think we just found.
Text me that.
That's our title.
That's our title. Video games. Rob Zombie better not touch my Booger Man.
Can I make can I pitch something before we wrap up this episode?
All day, buddy.
Why is it that video game movies are not often very good?
Right.
But movies that feature video games as a plot component tend to hold up pretty well.
Like The Wizard, I disagree.
Gamer.
Like War Games.
Gamer. Like what?
War Games.
Ready Player One, but that's based on a novel.
Jumanji has now became about video games. It was about board games. Tron.
You can't. Tron can't be put into this argument, James.
Tron.
No. I mean,
I'll tell you, I never saw Tron Legacy till 2 years ago, and I stand by Tron Legacy is a superior film.
The Last Starfighter.
Okay, you got me.
Why is it that we can't adapt a video game, but we could Cloak and Dagger if you're of a certain age?
Because the problem is with video. The problem with video games is marketing and studios see, okay, we got this video game, we got to put elements into it, but we also don't want to make a direct rip off of it. Where a movie that features video games with no relevant background information, they can do whatever the hell they want. And that's why Last Starfighter, I'm joking with you on Tron, even though, Tron 2 is far superior.
And it's not a great movie.
It's not a great film.
Tron is of its time. I will defend it as of its time.
And there's one you're missing, James, and it's killing me because it's on the tip. It's on the tip of my tongue.
We're getting ready to have Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, which is set in a video game world.
I'm excited about that one.
By the way, and I wanted to bring this up because I saw it again, and I was like, you know what? I still enjoy it, knowing that I shouldn't enjoy it. It's not a video game movie, but it feels the closest a movie has got to giving me a video game experience, and that's Hardcore Henry.
Yeah.
It's not a video game movie.
What's that? Guns Akimbo.
Guns Akimbo is pretty close too.
Hardcore Henry.
And Guns Akimbo is
a lot of
so
fun.
much fun. If you haven't seen it, people, go see Guns Akimbo.
Harry Potter.
It's free.
You joke. Daniel Radcliffe is rapidly becoming one of my favorite actors.
No, Daniel Radcliffe Daniel Radcliffe is like our friend Phil. He's a national treasure. But so is that lady. She's a fantastic actress. I love her in everything.
Weaving's
niece. Yes. Something.
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving. Thank you. Yes.
Samara. I'm sorry. She is absolutely, positively, balls to the wall. One of my favorite young actresses working today.
Yes.
No. She rises. Oh my God. If you've not seen that, Ready or Not is another fantastic movie with her. The Babysitter, she raises that shit up. Like, she makes that movie better. Sorry.
So James, that's a good point. Yeah, there are a lot of good movies that are based around video games.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, fuck you. Go ahead, motherfucker. I don't give a shit what I have to say. No, nobody wants to hear Chad. Go.
Okay,
go,
so
Joe.
we're all on the same page. was going to say the best. You're talking about video game adaptions, and I've been thinking about it for the last 45 minutes of movies, and they all suck.
Boy, you should have came up with this sooner than this.
Well, 45 minutes later, it came up with, because you were thinking, I think, what's the worst case scenario that like Blade 2 or something is one of the worst video games based on a movie or something? I think I've read that before. There's a bunch, right? There's a bunch of them. The best one of those are the ones that take the story to another place. Like a sequel to The Thing, or the Evil Dead ones, where it's a different story with Ash. Or my one that I'm playing now with my son, because I didn't play it when it came out 15 years or 12 years ago, the Ghostbusters video game.
Yeah, no, those are good. Yeah, the ones that are spins off of and I think there's a Lord of the Rings video game that's supposed to be amazing, but I don't know what it's called.
I don't either, Chad.
Oh, there's been a couple good Lord of the Rings games. There's the one that is a continuation of the story that doesn't involve any of the cast from the books or the characters from the book, is Shadows of War, right? Or Middle Earth Shadows of War.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's it.
And it's I own it. It is. By the way, actually, they do some creepy things if you play it on PlayStation, because I didn't expect it. I was playing it, and you'll occasionally, the decisions you make are whether you go good or bad, right? And so you can, if somebody kills
Knights of the Old Republic,
sort of, yeah.
Okay.
And if somebody, like, if you kill somebody, you level up. But if somebody kills you and you regenerate later on,
and Joe, it's called KOTOR.
What the fuck is he talking about?
Knights of the Old Republic, KOTOR.
I guess. You're lucky that I knew that you could make decisions and go either dark or light on that. I had I've actually never played it.
But what got me about
James, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I do guys. So Fable is another one of those lines where you can create a character, and then you determine if it goes good or bad. As soon as I started playing that game, I'm like, I did every horrible thing I could just to become.
See, I'm the flip side. I feel the need to do good. I don't know why. Like you would think.
When you walk down the street for our audience, that's literally not in a game. That guy at the convenience store didn't do anything to deserve that.
And I'm opening myself up to a great slam from both of you on this one. When I literally when I did so many bad things that there was literally flies circling around me, I was like, I am succeeding.
I don't think that's a slam. That's much more of a crown of thorns.
You know, Jesus
took him down with a crown of thorns. Do you think we could get what's his face to do that? Who's the famous ring announcer for the WWE? What was his name?
Oh, there's brothers, right? One of them does boxing, one of them does wrestling.
Oh, the other guy, Chad's gonna know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, I don't know.
What's his name? The tubby one?
Oh, Bobby the Brain Heenan? What?
Oh, no, one of their announcers. I can't think of his name. Anyway, keep going.
Jim Ross?
Yeah, Jim Ross.
God.
Killed it. Keep going, James.
Yeah.
Dead air.
No,
this episode's going nowhere.
You brought up this idea then about video games based on movies, and I think you're right. It's the ones that take it in a new place. Shadows of War, Middle Earth Shadows of War being one of them.
The Star Wars games, the ones that took a new place that did something that you didn't see in the movie.
Some people, and I don't necessarily, I know some people hated it, but some people say that Alien Isolation is a good one because it's a survival horror game where you're just trying to make it through. The Avengers game, my son has it and loves it. Oh, what I was saying earlier, though, let me jump back real quick, because what got me about the Middle Earth Shadows of War is nobody told me, and for those that don't play PlayStation 4, you have your audio on your TV, but there's actually a speaker in your remote. And I would be playing, and all of a sudden, I'd get voices coming from my remote, and I wasn't expecting them, and it'd be like, we're coming.
That's
like,
Chad.
This creepy.
Remember when we were talking about the flies above his head? He's put speakers into your house.
Yep.
And I agree. Guy from the convenience store do it before he did the thing.
If you're a big Star Wars fan, and I will say this, you need to check out Star Wars Jedi: The Fallen Order.
Mm-hmm.
That's a recent video game, but it's like I always say, not everybody was at the temple that day. There are other Jedi out there, and it follows. You play Cal Kestis. I believe is Kestis, and he was a Jedi Padawan who wasn't there when everybody got slayed, and he's been hiding out, and he finally realizes he has to go back and try to right some of the wrongs. And so, I mean, there's a lot of games out there. What now?
He dies.
He does run into a certain up and coming fellow named Darth later on.
Small, you say? He's on that little wheelie thing with the like Eddie Murphy's on and Trading Places.
Yeah. Some people love the Mad Max video game. I've never played it, but some people do love it and say that it is a great one. Some people that we know. No, what you mentioned this. I thought if we're going to cover it, let's cover it. Some people we know love. Some people we know because of Scarefest love Friday the 13th, the game, the PlayStation, Xbox.
But that's kind of went.
Did that ever come out?
It did come out, and then there was legal battles going on over it because somebody that we met at the first Scarefest, Victor Miller, the guy that wrote it, filed a lawsuit.
Yep.
And they crunched that. One game that just came out.
And I think as of last week, they officially announced that they're, I don't know video game jargon, but they're closing down their servers. So
yeah, they're pretty much in the game.
Yeah, the game is ending. It won't receive any more updates or anything like that. So whatever you have is what you're going to play for the rest of eternity.
Okay. Yeah. I actually didn't know. I thought it was on one of those disc things, and you just put it up there, and you're look at him, a fancy Frenchman with his PS4.
No, actually, the way the game is set up, and I haven't played it because it's not my type of game, but you randomly get assigned either you're a camp counselor or you're
Jason.
And if you're Jason, of course, your job is to kill all the camp counselor. If you're a camp counselor, you have to go around, like you can try to repair a boat, or you choose how you want to try to outsmart Jason. And depending on who plays Jason, it's who survives the longest, or does Jason win. One game that just came out that I've heard a lot of buzz about, and it's of a franchise that people tend to, I mean, it was a big deal, but this game came out of nowhere and it's getting pretty rave reviews, 8.8 out of 10, according to IGN, which is used to be the huge video game magazine. Now they're completely online. But 9 out of 10, 4 out of 5. I mean, huge ratings for a movie type game. And it just came out on PS4, I think, last month. And that's Blair Witch. And it came out of nowhere.
Be a video game, yeah.
I didn't know it was coming. Basically, the plot to Blair Witch is you're a police officer, and there's a child that goes missing, and you're part of the search party to find this child that went missing near the woods. Spoiler alert, Joe, something's going on in them woods. It's not a game where you're like, oh, there's that kid. Let's get him out of there. It's a little bit more complex than that. And so it's a survival game, but it's also about exploration, and you're having to find clues to try to find the kid. But as time goes on, things get more and more complicated, much like we would expect in a Blair Witch film. Like I said, it came out of nowhere, seemingly for a lot of fans of video games, and it has been hailed. I read actually somewhere yesterday that it's being hailed as one of the swan song games for the PS4 as the PlayStation 4 fades away. The PS5's out.
Well, the last Blair Witch movie came out of nowhere too. They kept it in development for a long, long time and didn't tell us all.
So I just wanted to mention that because there are some good game adaptations based on movies, but generally speaking, you're right. They're few and far between.
They're few and far between, and they usually only work if they do something different.
So let me reverse this. Let me reverse this real quick before we wrap. Is there a movie that you would like to see turned into a video game?
I'd like. So can I go first? Just because out of the three of us, I'm the least of the gamers.
Yeah.
I love the idea of video games. I was looking at the new PlayStation and I thought to myself,
Joe, didn't you buy the Thing video game and play it like twice?
Probably. Yeah, it was it. Yeah. I don't have the attention span for it.
I don't either.
Now it looks amazing. The graphics are amazing on everything. In fact, Chad, to your point, I will go ahead and fall on this sword. I have had the Ghostbusters video game for years and didn't play it more than 10, 20 minutes. And now my son found it. And that's the only reason it's getting played now. And honestly, I'm not even playing it that much. My wife's playing it with him as he goes there, and I just watch them play.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. It's a great game.
I've enjoyed it. I've watched a lot of the cutscenes on YouTube to see where, specifically before the new movie comes out, because I know it ties in. I've said all that to say that every year or every few years they come out with a new system. I can afford it. I may go ahead and buy that. Shit. I got the 5 books up here beside my bed I want to finish reading. I got 14 movies. I got to do a review for Scarefest. I'm doing this review all. I got a full-time job. Got kids. It's just one of those things where out of all my geekiness, video games tend to fall at the bottom. So to answer your question is I would love to play more Star Wars games. I would love to have played that new Alien game James was talking about earlier, or Aliens, or whatever, from the Alien franchise. I'd like to do all those things. I like first-person shooters, but when it comes to what little free time I have, it seems to always fall at the bottom.
That really wasn't the question.
What was your question?
What movie would you like to be turned into a video game?
That's what I just told you. I told you at the end of it, I'd love to play more Star Wars games. I'd love to play the Alien games that have already been made. I haven't seen them. I'd like to do Lord of the Rings games. It would be the movies I'd like, but I just don't do it.
James?
I was saying about this, and this is another one. We used to have great, and I will defend them until my last breath, great Star Trek games. We have not had a great Star Trek game, I would say, in a decade.
James and I are saying we want more of the same, Chad.
No, what I was about to say is we need one of those, adapt whatever you want. But there's also, I'm going to pull one out of left field, and it has been adapted into video games multiple times before, but not also within about the past 5 or 6 years. We need some Muppets. I don't know why you wouldn't do a Muppet game.
I never thought.
So real quick, there was a great Muppet game that people loved called Muppet Monster Adventures, where the Muppet had to go undercover and get through this as monsters and get through this haunted house thing. That game was huge. It was on the original PlayStation. So what, 15 years ago, 20 years ago?
It was about also 20 years ago.
There was also Muppets Race Mania, which was a Muppets racing game, it was PlayStation's answer to Mario Kart. The original Mario Kart was a big deal at the time. And it was fun. You picked what Muppet you wanted to race as. You raced around. They said there were sarcastic comments. So, I don't know why, if you're making video games, but then again, I don't know why we can't get better and more Muppets now either.
I couldn't make it through. I never watched past the first. Did it get any better? Does that show still suck? The new Muppets.
The new Muppets?
Yeah.
I watched it with my kids. I mean,
I never made it past the first episode. It was awful.
Every there's glimmers of hope occasionally. The Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker science sketches are what kept me going.
It's awful.
But it's missing something. But anyway, so yes, Chad, to answer, what would I love to see adapted? Star Trek Muppets. I would also like to see somebody do something with and I know this is not just a comic or not just a movie, it's a comic series. I'd love to see somebody do something with Judge Dredd.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be nice.
So I mean, I think there's all sorts of ideas out there. And another one that almost got made, actually you can go back and watch the commercial for it. It looked like it would have been a lot of fun, and then at the last minute, I think EA was making it, EA Electronic Arts. I could be misremembering that though. But they had an entire plan for a Highlander game where you're going to play some unknown immortal, and you can go back and
up for a video game. There can only be one.
You can go back and watch the trailer for it, the game, when they announced it. I mean, they had gameplay footage and everything. It looked phenomenal. We never got it. They decided not to release it after they invested, I think somebody said $30 million, and that they almost had it done. They were like, yeah, let's just stop. I'm sure there's rights issues there or something.
What's yours, Chad?
So the reason I asked it is because, and I didn't have an answer until about 15 minutes ago. And I was like, oh, I would really like to see this happen. I would actually almost buy a video game system if somebody would make a video game based on Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail.
They did have one. It was a computer game.
Well, thanks for busting my bubble. Huh?
Go buy a computer, Chad.
Not doing that. Damn thing's the devil.
Hey, really quick, and it is because it's above my head, but it actually isn't all just because you're above my head. You also mentioned Judge Dredd, a game that I enjoyed playing quite a bit as a child that I would love to play a updated version, especially on the new PlayStation platform. I'm sure it'd be amazing, would be RoboCop. I don't know why they don't have more of those.
By the way, you mentioned that, and that's actually another point.
I love that game as a kid. Played it so often.
You know what I didn't enjoy? RoboCop versus Terminator. That was a shitty game.
And it was impossible.
Never played it.
I want to say,
video game
do you know where you can play RoboCop right now, Joe?
Mm-mm.
I know the battle you've always wanted to have in your head is what would happen if RoboCop fought the Terminator? We talked about that a second ago.
Yeah.
How about RoboCop versus Rambo? Because in Mortal Kombat, the new edition of Mortal Kombat, the 3 movie-based characters they added, because Joker's on there too. He's obviously movie affiliated, but they added the Joker. They added Rambo, and actually Stallone came back and did his lines. They added RoboCop, and at the end, I guess one of RoboCop's finishers is Ed 209 comes in and helps him. And they added
I'd like to
Terminator.
see that.
By the way, Chad, real quick, Monty Python and the Holy Grail was an adventure game created by 7th Level in 1996 for Windows.
Yeah, no, that's not the same. I mean,
the video game was directed by Terry Gilliam, who did new art, Terry Jones, and Steve Martino.
So
all right, now I want to play it.
Terry Jones. We need to get Terry Jones back in to update his voice recordings. Did they get Chapman for that one?
It was named one of the top 50 CD-ROM games. There you go.
Did they get Chapman?
It was a finalist for Computer Gaming World's 1996 Classic Puzzle Game of the Year.
I'm going to keep making the joke because I feel like the Pythons would make this joke.
Hold on. Yes, they did, Joe.
Oh, good. As long as they have Chapman, I'm okay. They never seem to invite him to things anymore. They kind of leave him off the list. Never shows up for these public appearances. And now
Yellowbeard pissed everybody off.
Now Terry G is starting to be like, where's Terry G? I don't know. He keeps no-showing on these Python appearances. And with that note, I think we've killed it so much. So anything else you guys want to talk about with video games? As long as you got that Cobra gun on RoboCop, you're in good shape.
Actually, one last thing I will say. I mentioned FMV, full motion video. There was a brief period in time when they did make games that were completely that way. Mm-hmm. And if you're interested in that, a couple games that came out of that, one that I played was called V, which was basically you find out that your father is Dracula, or D. I'm sorry, I said V. It's D. But there was one that was really controversial called Night Trap, which was re-released as an homage because now it seems tame, where you were a voyeur, or maybe that's voyeur. That may be anyway. The entire game was about you watching through windows and watching what people happen, and then seeing that this killer's coming around killing all these co-eds, and you have the option to warn them to see how many of them you can save. But it was done as full motion video. Phantasmagoria, Seventh Guest.
Phantasmagoria is one I wanted to play in the 90s. I never got to. It looked cool.
And Mad Dog McCree, which was the shootout one, which was also an arcade game. All of those were full motion video based games. And so that was a big deal. I think grand total 150 games of that. And that was the ultimate merging of the time of movies and games. So I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to
Phantasmagoria was out on you could play it on Windows 95. You could buy the CD-ROM. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, by the way, it was called Voyeur. I mixed up Night Trap, which was another one, and Voyeur. Both of them had to do with you were watching co-ed.
They checked out 20 minutes ago.
No, I'm listening. Voyeur.
No, I said they.
Oh, they.
By the way, Wing Commander 3, look it up, is the one that is also full motion video and does have Mark Hamill, and you can watch the cutscenes online.
All right, guys. This has been our video game episode. Anything to add?
Sorry we bored you to death.
You know what? At least we can say we covered all the different.
Yes, we covered video.
We covered every fucking video game except for all the Resident Evils. But I really want to just lump that into one big movie.
Yeah, as it should be.
By the way, if you're playing 6 Degrees of Separation and you're allowed to use video games, make sure you use Wing Commander 3 to connect Tim Curry directly to Mark Hamill and Malcolm McDowell. They're all in it. You should watch the cutscenes. They're pretty good.
All right. Thank you all so much.
Johnny Rhys Davies, too. Tom Wilson.
Tom Wilson.
Courtney
Back to
Gaines.
the Future? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This has been Bonehead.